Well, here it is, folks. The first Super Tournament of the year, 2015, the 77th Tata Steel Chess Tournament. Great action, great tournament, great world-class players. Don't miss any of the action. And here are the standings after 3 rounds in the 77th edition of Tata Steel Chess. This is the Masters section. Fabiano Caruana and Vasily Ivanchuk with 2.5. Ivanchuk's having a hell of a tournament. Caruana's still tearing up. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name right. From Poland, Wojtaszek and Wesley So. Maxime Vachier-Lagraf with 2, and Ding from China with 2. Wesley So just recently changed his affiliation from the Philippines to the U.S., so he's under the U.S. flag now. Rajabov and Geary with 1.5. Van Wheely, Carlsen, Aronian, and Sarek with 1. Now, when was the last time you saw a 14-player tournament of this caliber? And Magnus Carlsen and Levin Aronian are number 10 and 11 after 3 rounds. And rounding out the field, Jobava from Georgia and Hu Yifan, current women's world champion from China. It's anybody's tournament now. We'll see what Carlsen does. We'll see what Aronian does. We'll see who can make it to the top in this tough tournament. Stay tuned for all the action. Hi, folks. John Cordisco back again. Wow. Round 3 of the 77th edition of Tata Steel Chess. This is the Masters section. I'll tell you the truth, there's blood all over Vikings A tonight. The Masters group had all kinds of decisive results. I'll try to get all the videos up for you, but the number 1 video I want to show is young man from Poland, Wojtaszek, I believe it's pronounced, as white, and Magnus Carlsen, highest rated player in history of chess and current world champion, as black. I'll tell you, this is a hell of a game. And let's get through it. It's going to be a modern defense. Magnus tried this earlier in round 1, I believe. Magnus has 2 draws in rounds 1 and 2. This is round 3. F5. Very interesting. Kind of reminds you of a Dutch a little bit. Bishop B2. B5. Pawn E3. Now this is strange already, and we're on move 7. Knight F6, Bishop E2. Fritz computer off screen's got about a half a point advantage for white, no big deal. C6, pawn takes. Both castles, queen to C2, queen to C7. Computer thought maybe knight to A6 and knight to C3 after that. But after queen to C7, it's unusual. We're on move 11, and I mean, Carlsen's okay. I mean, there's nothing really major going on here, but it's a definitely weird position already. Black's a little behind development, I think. You got the B1 knight and the C1 bishop are kind of sitting there. We'll see how this works out. Knight C3, the last minor piece for white's developed. Magnus goes A3. Now the computer liked bishop on B to D7 to develop that bishop. Close second is A3. I'm not going to second guess Magnus. Bishop C1. Now, this dark squared bishop is really hemmed in. I mean, these pawns are... Maybe that was the idea, just make the bishop go back. And what else? That does another thing. It stops the rooks from being connected. Now, white's going to have to waste another tempo here to develop that bishop and connect his rooks. Knight B to D7, Rook B1. Might as well grab the open file, you have to. Knight E4. Knight takes, pawn takes, Knight D2. Still a small advantage for white. Less than a pawn though, but I mean, this looks okay for Magnus. I mean, he's doing okay. It feels you have wondered if queen had taken instead. Knight C5. Queen, Bishop F6, and that's dead even on the computer, 0.00. After knight to D2, knight to F6, bring the knight around to protect the pawn, of course, and also get the knight in a better spot and open up a space for black's light squared bishop. Rook B3, I like that move a lot. Still, I mean, what's White going to do with this bishop? This knight can't move. My knight can't go here, here. Can't go anywhere. If you're wondering about knight takes, it fails to knight takes, rook b3, knight f6. If you go back, if queen had taken, bishop here wins the bishop for free. So that those 3 pawns aren't so free. Bishop to f5, rook takes, h5. Interesting. Computer like c5 and h5, it's pretty close. Rook takes, bishop takes. Carlsen decided to go h5, trying to bust up the pawns on the king side a little bit. Rook takes, a3. Good spot for that pawn. Well, at least his bishop here is doing something. Now he can move here, and he got a passer. h4. Magnus pushes it again. Computer likes c5 again. h4. Bishop b2. Fire that bishop is doing something. h3. Is that pawn really that menacing? g3. Can black get anything in here? Can black get a piece to come in here? I don't think so. Queen to c8. Now what he's going to try to do is try to do the swap. Bishop here. Bishop takes. Queen takes. And then finagle the queen to come in here. But that knight holds everything together. Rook e1. Rook b8. If he had gone d5 instead, that might have been a little better. Close up the position a little bit, at least on the queen side. Rook to b8 to get the file. Bishop c3. I think he wants to swing that rook over to b1, eliminate that rook. Knight to h7. And that's what the computer calls for. He's trying to do, this is my opinion, he's trying to get the knight to go from here to here to here. But is that pawn really going to matter? I mean, you're going to be able to get a piece in there. You're blocking in the white king, but is it really effective? Knight to h7, a4. He's going to slowly start creeping his pawn down. Not as good was knight takes c4. Then after f3, or excuse me, d5, f3, pawn takes, bishop g4 with a clear advantage, 3 pawns for a piece for black. a4, pretty good move. Knight g5, here we go again with that. Rook b1. Now, does he trade rooks? Computer says it's slightly better. Rook a8 is a close second, and that's what he does. I might have traded, I'm not sure. The computer calls for bishop d1, and I agree. He decided to go queen of d1 instead. c5, finally. Rook to b6. Interesting move. That was also the computer's move. And then this is where I think Magnus miscues. Now we're on move 28 now, and I know he was getting short on time. He only had a minute or two at the end of the 40 move. It's the 40 moves, and I forget how many hours. 2 hours, I believe. 40 moves is the cutoff. Magnus goes queen to e6. And it jumps to over 2-point advantage for white. King to h7 was the move the computer liked a lot. After queen to e6, g4. Where's the bishop going to go? C takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, e3, pawn takes, knight f1. Now there's still some tricks in this position. You have to be extremely careful. Swing this queen over here, and this poor king is kind of SOL. You got double checks here. You have to be careful. E takes check, king takes. Now the king can escape. Knight e4, king goes to e1. The king is safe there. Going to be able to swing the queen over. Queen to f6. Now the threat is, of course, queen here, check. Queen to d3. Rook takes. It's a piece for a pawn right now. And it's an over 2-point advantage for white. Can Magnus steal a draw out of this? We'll have to see. Rook b1. Stop in the back. Rank check, which would have been disaster. Queen checks. Knight to g3. King to f7. Almost, points are starting to pile up now against Magnus. Almost a 2.5-point advantage. Queen to f3. King g7. And this is a really interesting move. I was watching Yasser Sarawan with the commentary. He liked queen here, forcing the trade of queens. But queen f4 works just the same. Not as good would have been queen takes f5, because after knight takes, pawn takes, queen f2, queen c3 check, king f1, rook a8, and it's dead even. It's a drawn position. Queen g1, king h7, and this is dead drawn, believe it or not. So queen f4 was a damn good move. Magnus almost has to take. The last thing you want to do is trade down. Knight checks, getting back the queen. King f7. Knight takes. Now it's pretty much almost impossible for Magnus to draw this. Knight to g5. It's an over 3-point advantage now. d5. King f2. King f2. Magnus plays on. Rook a3. He's making them make the moves. They're on move 44 now, so they've passed the time control, so they're not in time trouble anymore. Bishop d3, just to block off the scope of that rook, I think. Rook a2 check. King g3. Rook a3. No good would have been knight to f7. Then after rook to b3, you're pretty much doomed there. You're doomed anyway, but rook e1. Knight e4 check. King f3. Computer likes king to h4 better. And after king e5, knight g6 check. King d4. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Knight takes. Rook c3. Not bad. Not bad. After king f3, knight checks. King moves to e3. Rook to a2 going after the pawn. You just block with the rook. There's no way you're going to be able to get that h-pawn down. Rook a3. Rook f2. Knight e4. Rook f3. And thanks for Magnus threw in the towel. That's a hell of a game by the young Paul. So here we are, Magnus Carlsen, current world champion. Round 3 only has 1 point in 3 rounds. And that's 2 draws in rounds 1 and round 2. It's anybody's tournament. Anyway, folks, that's one of the games from round 3. I'm going to show some other videos from this round as soon as I can get them on YouTube. And I thank everybody that subscribed to my channel. I've got a lot of people that have subscribed in the last few months. I very much appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.